The show begins in the city of Santa Clarita, California, where we see real estate agent Joel and his wife Sheila preparing breakfast before heading to work. Their daughter shows up before they leave and asks them to buy her a car because she lives so far from the city that it's exhausting for her to get anywhere. Joel tells her he's not getting her anything, which upsets Abby a lot, and she tells him he can't even provide for her and her mom. At that moment, Sheila's stomach starts hurting badly. When Joel asks what's wrong, she says she's fine and explains she ate something strange at the restaurant the night before, which might be causing the pain. Then Joel and Sheila leave the house to go to work. Outside, they run into their neighbor Dan, who works as a police officer, and then Rick, their other neighbor who's also a cop, but in a different department. The two men start joking around and walk off. Joel is annoyed and asks Sheila why they have to live between two police officers. Later, we see Sheila arriving at the real estate office, where she meets her boss, Carl, who introduces her to a new real estate agent she'll be working with. He instructs them to sell the Peterson house quickly. Sheila tells him he's joking at the wrong time and explains that she's been working as hard as she can and doesn't need constant reminders. But Carl gets annoyed and tells her she hasn't been doing her best at all and that she needs to actually put effort into selling the properties assigned to her. He scolds her and insults her in front of her coworker Gary West before walking off. Next, we see Joel and Sheila showing a married couple the Peterson house. Sheila tries hard to convince them to buy it by pointing out its advantages, but suddenly she throws up out of nowhere, leaving everyone shocked. When Joel asks if she's okay, she says she is and heads for the bathroom. Moments later, Joel hears strange noises coming from inside. When Sheila takes too long, he goes in to check on her and finds the entire bathroom wrecked, with Sheila collapsed on the floor, unconscious. She suddenly wakes up and tells him she threw up that weird thing and asks if he managed to convince the couple to buy the house. Joel is shocked and doesn't answer. He takes her to a public hospital to get checked out. Sheila asks how long they're going to stay there, insisting there's nothing wrong with her and that she's been sitting for 3 hours without anyone checking on her. Joel goes to speak to the hospital employee, but before he even says anything, she explains that priority is given to critical patients whose lives are in danger and that his wife isn't sick. She just threw up, nothing more. When Joel explains that she vomited an abnormal amount, the employee ignores him. So he decides to leave the hospital since they're wasting time. When they get home, Joel is shocked when Sheila tells him her heart has stopped working and asks him to check for himself. He tries to listen for a heartbeat, but can't hear anything. He goes to the mall to buy a stethoscope. Later, we see Abby trying to listen to her mother's heartbeat, but she fails too and says she can't hear anything. That's when Sheila tells them she discovered something else about her body and warns them not to freak out. She cuts herself and black fluid comes out instead of blood. Joel and Abby both faint, unable to believe what they're seeing. When Joel tries to take her back to the hospital, Sheila insists she doesn't feel sick at all. She tells him she feels more energized than ever and in perfect health. She says if they take her to the hospital, they might lock her up, inject her with all sorts of things, and turn her into a lab rat just to figure out what happened to her. Abby is shocked and says she's going to bring their weird neighbor Eric to take a look. She explains that Eric is a creepy guy who might understand what's going on with her. Eric arrives. Abby calls him the creep, and after seeing Sheila and hearing her symptoms, he tells her she's become a zombie, meaning she's both alive and dead at the same time. He tells Joel and Abby to feed Sheila whatever she craves and to let her do whatever she wants. He also tells them that her brain will deteriorate over time, and if they notice she's losing control, they'll have to finish her off and destroy her brain. They're shocked and ask how she got infected, but Eric says he doesn't know. Maybe a virus from a bat or a monkey. Later, we see Sheila eating something strange she found in a cactus plant and telling Joel it's crunchy and tastes great. Their neighbor, Officer Dan, shows up asking about his wife Lisa. Joel says he has no idea where she is. Sheila suddenly snaps at Dan in a weird tone asking why he's asking them about his wife. She leaves quickly with Abby. Afterward, Joel tells Sheila that Dan is probably suspicious now and that Eric the creep might tell him what's going on. Abby assures him that Eric would never tell Dan, his stepfather, anything because he hates him and avoids talking to him. We then see Sheila buying a car, excited along with Abby. She goes to a bar to hang out with her friends, who are shocked she's actually out drinking with them. They tell her she's changed a lot and ask why. Sheila says she's decided to live her life to the fullest. Joel arrives and asks her to come with him, telling her she's acting very strange and reminding her that she never used to go out like this. Sheila insists she's not acting strange. She just wants to live her life. Before she can finish, Gary, her coworker, interrupts and tells Joel to leave. He says he won't let Joel force force Sheila to go with him when she clearly doesn't want to. Joel snaps at Gary, extremely annoyed, but leaves anyway because he's afraid Gary will hit him. The next day, Joel wakes up irritated when the microwave button breaks. He gets frustrated, smashes the microwave, yells at it, and imagines it as Gary. He then goes to the supermarket to buy a new microwave. At that moment, we see Sheila in the backyard when Gary shows up, asking why she avoided him the night before. He tells her that if she doesn't become his lover, he'll ruin her life and tell her husband that she touched him yesterday. Sheila gets extremely annoyed and tells him she's changed her mind about him, pretending she's willing to get involved with him. She grabs his hand, intending to eat his fingers. Later, Joel comes home and sees Sheila eating Gary, the man who tried to frame her and ruin her reputation. That night, we see Joel digging a hole in the ground to bury Gary's body. Sheila tells him that Gary tried to harass her and assault her, and that's why she killed him. She also starts talking about Mrs. Carey, who wants to sell her house, but Joel tells her it's the wrong time to discuss work and asks her to help him bury the body. Sheila helps him lift the corpse, but suddenly Abby shows up with Eric, which terrifies Joel. He almost attacks Eric. Abby stops him, and when Joel asks how she found them, she says she tracked them using the location tracking app they secretly used to monitor her. Abby asks her mom why she killed Gary, and Sheila says he was a bad person who tried to take advantage of her and destroy her family. Eric helps them bury the body and tells them to hurry before anyone sees them. Then we see Eric giving Abby a chemical solution and asking her to spray it on the lawn to remove the traces of Gary's blood. Abby thanks him, touches his nose, and walks away, which makes Eric very happy because he likes her. Next, we see Joel and Sheila cleaning their backyard while Dan, Eric's stepfather, watches them suspiciously from his house. The next day, Sheila wants breakfast, but when she tries to eat the frozen chicken she usually eats, she hates the taste and feels confused. When she tries eating frozen meat, she finds it disgusting too. Meanwhile, Joel goes to a research center and meets a virologist named Dr. Charles. He tells him he has a friend who keeps vomiting, whose blood has dried up and turned black. Joel gives Dr. Charles a sample of Sheila's vomit and asks him to analyze it to see what his friend is infected with. Dr. Charles takes the sample and says he'll need help figuring out what the friend is suffering from. Then we see Eric showing Abby the robot he built. When he instructs the robot to shake her hand and it doesn't move, he gets embarrassed, explaining that he still hasn't finished working on it. Back with Joel, Dr. Charles tells him he needs psychological treatment. A psychologist approaches Joel and tells him she's a very good doctor and asks him to come to her clinic for an evaluation. Realizing they think he's insane, Joel quickly leaves. At that moment, Sheila calls Joel and asks him to bring her food because she's starving and hasn't been able to eat anything all day. Joel brings her a large amount of meat, but when Sheila sees it, she tells him she can't eat frozen meat anymore. She explains that ever since she ate Gary's flesh, she can only eat fresh human meat. Joel yells at her, not knowing what to do. When he sees how upset she is, he takes her to the morgue and asks the pathologist how much a corpse costs. The doctor tells him he'll sell him a body for $5,000. Joel doesn't have that kind of money, so he hands over all the cash he has, $400, and asks for any body part he can give him. We then see Sheila eating a dead man's leg, but unable to swallow it. She tells Joel the meat isn't fresh, it's old, full of chemicals, and she can't eat it. When they return home, Sheila tells Joel she's starving and will have to kill someone in order to eat. She asks him to take Abby away and keep her at a distance so neither of them gets hurt. But Joel tells her he will never abandon her, not after everything they've been through together since high school, and that he wants to help her through whatever she needs. The next day, we see Sheila talking to Joel about their daughter Abby, worried about her. When Joel doesn't reply and seems deep in thought, she asks what he's thinking about. Joel tells her they need to kill someone today so she can eat, admitting the whole situation terrifies him and he doesn't know what to do. Sheila tells him they should pick someone who's alone, has no family, and ideally someone who's also a bad, evil person. Joel agrees, and they start brainstorming people who fit that description. Sheila thinks about killing her terrible yoga classmate and also considers a dentist who assaulted a woman and made her pregnant. Then we see their neighbor Dan asking them why they were spraying their lawn with chemicals at 3 a.m. Joel lies and says he was using the spray to get rid of ants and insects, explaining that their house is full of ants. Meanwhile, Abby is sitting with her friend Eric when Sarah joins them. Abby asks Sarah who she's waiting for, and Sarah says she's waiting for her boyfriend Cole. Abby gets upset and tells her that Cole is a sleazy guy who sells drugs and is way older than her, and she advises her to end the relationship. But Sarah refuses to listen, saying Cole is a good guy and not at all what Abby thinks. She leaves to meet him, but a few minutes later she comes back furious, saying Cole is rude and awful. She won't tell them what he did, but says she wants revenge. At the same time, we see Sheila and Joel visiting their neighbor, Officer Rick. They ask him for a list of criminals and dangerous offenders in the area. Rick is surprised and asks why they're asking this question. Joel tells him they're real estate agents and want to know which neighborhoods have a lot of crime so they can avoid buying homes in those areas. Rick tells them that their own neighborhood doesn't have any serious criminals. There is a man who recently moved in who's been abusing children. He assures them the police are watching him closely, so they shouldn't worry. Afterward, Sheila tells Joel she's extremely hungry and suggests they kill Rick so she can eat him, reminding him that Rick lives alone and has no family. At that moment, Abby bursts in, cursing Cole and saying he's a terrible person who sells drugs to kids and teenagers. She asks Sarah if she's lost her mind for dating someone like him. Hearing this, Sheila decides she's going to kill Cole after learning what he did. We then see Cole arriving to meet Sheila and Joel in an empty house that's up for sale. Joel tells him he's a real estate agent and chose this place so no one would see them. Cole says Joel is exaggerating and explains that he only sells weed, which is legal in the state anyway. Sheila suddenly tries to bite Cole's neck to kill him, but her phone rings, so she leaves quickly to answer it. While she's gone, Cole vents to Joel about his life. He explains that he recently fell in love with a girl and wanted to be with her, but later discovered she was underage. She had lied and told him she was 21. He immediately broke up with her because he refused to be with a minor. Hearing this, Joel gains respect for Cole, realizing he's not a criminal, but actually a decent guy. When Joel asks why he deals weed, Cole says he does it out of financial desperation. He says he stopped dealing, but had to go back to it when his sister got divorced and moved in with him. Joel tells him he understands. He too is being forced into doing something terrible because of someone he loves. Later, Sheila returns and asks Joel about Cole. Joel says he let him go and explains that Cole is actually a good guy and they can't kill him. That night, Abby goes to Cole's house and throws a smoke bomb inside. Cole stumbles out coughing and unable to see, screaming in pain. Abby proudly tells Sarah this is her revenge on the guy who hurt her. Meanwhile, Sheila is furious because she hasn't eaten in a long time and yells at Joel for letting Cole go. At that moment, Joel crashes into a wealthy man's car. The man demands $10,000 in compensation or he'll call the police. Before he finishes talking, Sheila bites his neck and kills him. Joel quickly takes the body and stores it in the freezer in their basement. Sheila is thrilled, eating the corpse's arm and thanking Joel for helping her. Later, we see Joel having dinner with his family. When he sees Sheila eating their food, he's disgusted, realizing she mixed their meal with human flesh. The next day, Joel goes to a documentary research office looking for books about the undead. He searches through many books, but finds most of them are unrealistic fantasy stories. As he's about to leave, he notices a painting of a woman vomiting repeatedly, a red ball, exactly like the one Sheila vomited. Joel shows the painting to Sheila, telling her it was painted in the 16th century by a Serbian artist. Sheila goes to Eric and asks him to help her understand her condition better. She admits she killed someone yesterday out of sudden hunger, and that lately she does whatever comes to mind, no matter how dangerous or wrong. Eric tells her it's because she's a zombie. Zombies only do what gives them pleasure. Later, Eric presents his robot at the school science fair. His mother, Lisa, watches proudly but confused, saying she has no idea who he inherited his intelligence from. She tells Sheila that her ex-husband was unbelievably stupid. Principal Novak arrives and tells Sheila that Abby has been skipping school for a long time and that he will have to expel her if she misses another day. Sheila gets angry because she wants her daughter to live freely and do whatever she wants. She insults the principal and storms off. Novak tells her not to bring Abby to school again and walks away. Sheila follows him, ready to kill him, but Joel arrives just in time and asks what she's doing at the school. She asks him the same question. Joel says he was dropping off Abby for the fair and tells Sheila he loves her and was happy to see her. They hug. Just then, the principal walks out of his office. Sheila confronts him again, saying he's not going to expel her daughter and promising that Abby will attend school regularly. She threatens to end his life if he harms Abby or tries to expel her again. Terrified, he promises not to expel her and hurries away. At that moment, Joel notices a Serbian flag in the principal's office and rushes to ask if he's Serbian. Novak says only his grandmother is of Serbian descent, then walks off quickly, thinking Joel is just as crazy as Sheila. The next day, neighbor Dan yells at Joel, demanding he spray his backyard with pesticide because Dan's house is full of ants because of him. Joel ignores him and walks away, so Dan angrily marches into Joel's backyard to spray it himself. There, he finds a severed finger and is shocked. Meanwhile, Abby is in the basement and opens the freezer, finding the corpse her mother is eating. She is horrified. Back with Joel, we see him stalking Novak, discovering his grandmother's address and visiting her. He asks her to translate the Serbian writing on the painting. She tells him it says that humans must eat humans in order to survive. She adds that the line comes from an old Serbian folktale about the village of Bojica, where all the villagers turned into monsters, husbands eating their wives, fathers eating their daughters, until everyone devoured each other. She tells him the story is fictional, something mothers used to tell their children to scare them into behaving. Joel asks Novak's grandmother to translate the second painting as well. She tells him it says that anyone who goes untreated will inevitably perish. She explains that an old medieval book once described a cure for the undead, but the book is extremely rare and almost impossible to find. Just then, Principal Novak arrives, furious, and kicks Joel out of the house, saying he never wants to see him or his wife again. Joel leaves immediately, but Novak's grandmother tells him he's a nice young man and wishes he could stay. Later, we see Joel searching for information about the village of Bojica. He finds only one surviving page from the ancient book that told the story of the village. From it, he realizes that the two paintings he has are actually pages from that same book, which originally contained many more sheets. When Sheila asks why he's so obsessed with the book, Joel tells her it might contain her cure. He says the person who posted the book online is named Anton, but when he tried to contact him to buy it, he found that Anton's email had been shut down and no longer worked. Sheila tells him she doesn't want to be cured at all. Ever since becoming a zombie, she's been living her best life. She asks him not to contact anyone or search for anything related to curing her ever again. Meanwhile, Abby tells Eric that her mom eats human flesh. Eric calmly says he already knew she was a zombie and isn't surprised. He then reveals that he discovered his mother is cheating on his stepfather, Dan, with a man named Bob. He even shows Abby his mom's social media profile, which he hacked. He explains that mothers don't tell their kids everything they do. They try to protect their children's feelings and keep them from feeling overwhelmed. Abby listens, confused and unconvinced. Meanwhile, Joel is smoking weed with Officer Rick and asks him to search for any information about a man named Anton using his old deactivated email. Rick tells him that Anton sounds strange, then takes the email address. Suddenly, Dan appears, sees them getting high, and starts mocking Rick. Upset, Rick leaves quickly. Joel asks Dan why he came. Dan says he has no friends and asks Joel to be his friend. Joel tells him he's not interested in befriending someone so intrusive and apologizes. Dan says Joel has no choice unless he wants Dan to arrest him. He then shows Joel the severed finger he found in the backyard, saying someone must have thrown it there. Before Dan can continue, Joel cuts him off and claims the finger belongs to Gary West, his coworker. He says he killed Gary because Gary tried to hit on Sheila. Joel is furious inside, wanting to tell the truth, that Sheila is the one who killed Gary, but he stays silent. Dan then asks Joel to eliminate someone he's wanted dead for a long time. Joel is shocked and panics. He runs to Sheila and tells her that Dan now thinks he killed Gary, and that Dan wants him to take out another criminal or he'll be arrested. Joel explains that the target is a major drug dealer who Dan has failed to capture several times. Joel shows Sheila the criminal's file. His name is Lucas, and his record includes 4 murders, extortion, assault, robbery, and drug trafficking. Joel asks how he's supposed to kill someone like that. Sheila tells him he won't be doing anything. She will. She asks him to simply take her to Lucas's apartment. Joel does. When Lucas sees them at the door, he asks who they are. Sheila tells him she's a real estate agent and that the building's new owner wants him to break his lease in exchange for a huge payout. Lucas lets them inside. When he goes to the kitchen to get them drinks, Sheila quickly puts on gloves, preparing to attack him. But Lucas returns suddenly and asks what they're doing. Sheila tells him she came to kill him, then lunges for his neck to bite him. But her teeth hit his necklace instead, and she misses. Lucas shoves her away and stabs her in the heart with a knife. But when the stab does nothing, he panics. Sheila grabs the knife and stabs him back, but he pushes her off again and runs away without harming them further. Later, Sheila tells Joel she managed to bite Lucas, but couldn't kill him because of the necklace he was wearing. She's terrified he might turn into a zombie like her, and they won't be able to stop him. Joel says they must kill Lucas within a week, or Dan will arrest him. The next day, Lucas's housekeeper enters his room to clean. When she sees vomit everywhere, she screams and runs out. Lucas then opens his eyes, but it's unclear whether he's become a zombie like Sheila or not. 2 days later, Joel waits outside Lucas's Lucas's building, exhausted. He asks Sheila where Lucas might be hiding. Joel eventually leaves to attend Dan's barbecue party. When Dan sees him, he asks what Joel did. Joel lies and says he took care of Lucas like Dan asked. When Dan asks where the body is, Joel says he buried it deep in the desert. Dan is thrilled, calling Joel a professional criminal. He tells Joel he wants him to kill another man, a trafficker who exploits teenage girls. Joel refuses, not wanting to obey him again. Dan insists, explaining that every time the police arrest the man, he bribes high-level officials and walks free without charges. Dan keeps pressuring Joel to take him out. Meanwhile, Abby drops a can of gas under the cabinet while she's with Eric. When she reaches under to retrieve it, she discovers a hidden wall safe. She asks Eric to open it. Eric listens to Abby and opens the safe. Inside, they find documents and drugs that Dan had been hiding, but they ignore everything except for the $1,000 in cash, which they take before leaving. Meanwhile, Joel tells Sheila that Dan wants him to kill another man, a human trafficker who exploits teenage girls, and he has no idea what to do. Sheila tells him she'll take care of it easily, explaining that the corpse she's been eating is almost gone, and she would have needed to kill someone else soon anyway. She tells him not to feel guilty, assuring him they'll never find someone more deserving to die than a girl trafficker. But Joel says he can't help her kill the man. He admits he's a coward and can't end anyone's life. Sheila tells him she doesn't want his help anyway, but asks him to go to Lucas's apartment and retrieve her pen, which she forgot there, and which has her name on it. Joel goes to Lucas's apartment. While searching for the pen, he sees Lucas's pet snake and panics. Just then, Lucas's relatives arrive and ask who Joel is and why the apartment is trashed. Joel tells them he came to buy drugs from Lucas, but didn't find him and was just leaving. Before he can leave, Lucas's cousin blocks the door and demands Joel stay until Lucas confirms who he is and why he's there. At the same time, Sheila follows the supposed human trafficker, ready to kill him, but suddenly runs into her neighbor Lisa, Eric's mother, hugging her lover Bob. Sheila is shocked and asks what she's doing there. Lisa asks Sheila the same question. Lisa explains that this is the man she started seeing after Sheila told her she deserved better and didn't have to stay in her unhappy marriage with Dan. Sheila panics and says Lisa twisted her words. She never told her to cheat. She asks Bob what he does for a living, and Bob says he's an oncologist who treats children. Sheila realizes he's not a trafficker at all. Dan lied about him completely. Meanwhile, Lucas's girlfriend Eva vents to Joel, whom she now considers a friend, about Lucas refusing to marry her. She's heartbroken. Lucas walks in and Eva immediately yells at him, but Lucas ignores her and punches Joel, knocking him to the ground. As Joel falls, he spots Sheila's pen before losing consciousness. Later, Joel returns home with the pen. He tells Sheila that Lucas attacked him and nearly killed him, and that Eva and Lucas's friends begged Lucas to let him go. When Joel asks about the trafficker, Sheila tells him that Bob isn't a trafficker at all. He's just an oncologist and Lisa's secret boyfriend. The next day, Joel confronts Dan and tells him he didn't kill the guy he claimed was a trafficker. Joel says Dan is a liar who tried to trick him into killing his wife's lover. Joel warns Dan never to use the Gary situation against him again, because Joel could just as easily accuse him of trying to force him to kill Bob and Lucas. Dan says he never planned to threaten Joel. He was going to threaten Sheila, get her arrested, and force Joel to comply. He pressures Joel again, insisting Joel must listen to him unless he wants his wife in prison. Joel, furious and protective, knocks Dan out to make him stop. When Sheila sees Dan's body, she asks Joel why he killed him. Joel explains that Dan kept threatening him, forcing him to eliminate Bob. Joel says he had to end Dan's life to protect them, then asks Sheila to help him move the body. Later, Rick tells Joel he managed to find a working phone number for Anton, the man who posted the Serbian book online, and leaves. Sheila asks Joel whose number that was. Joel explains it's the number of the man who might be able to cure her, and reminds her of the rare Serbian book. Just then, Abby sees Dan's corpse, screams, and panics. When Joel and Sheila rush to her, she asks why they killed Dan too. Joel explains he had no choice. Dan was threatening him and Sheila, and he apologizes deeply. Abby goes to Eric and tells him Joel killed Dan, Eric's stepfather. Eric is delighted and asks her to show him the body. That night, Sheila tells Joel she has to eat Dan's body before the police start looking for him and discover he's in their house. She begins eating the corpse. The next day, Sheila tells Joel she couldn't finish the entire body and that the police will soon search the house. She's terrified because the scent will alert the dogs. Sheila breaks down, saying she's about to destroy their whole life. The following day, the police search Dan's house. When they reach the safe, they find documents, drugs, and piles of cash. A female officer finds a cloth containing Gary West's severed finger. Later, Rick tells Joel that they discovered Dan's safe full of incriminating documents showing illegal activities. He also tells Joel that Dan is the prime suspect in killing Gary West. Joel is stunned and asks if Rick is serious. Rick replies that this isn't something he'd joke about. He explains that Dan was also working with a dangerous drug dealer named Lucas, and Dan had tried to kill Lucas several times after Lucas threatened to expose him. Meanwhile, we see Sheila in the bathroom holding a severed toe, thinking it belongs to Dan. But when she prepares to eat it, she realizes with horror that she's holding her own toe. The next day, Lisa curses her late husband Dan and tells Joel and Sheila that he was a stingy, miserable man. She says he never spent money on her and that she only discovered after his death that he'd been rich all along. Just then, Officer Ann arrives and informs Lisa that the police failed to catch Lucas, Dan's partner. She explains that when they checked the hotel room he had rented, they found vomit everywhere. Lab tests showed Lucas had consumed large amounts of drugs, which caused him to throw up. Meanwhile, Sheila and Joel head to the hotel where Lucas was staying. When they ask housekeeping about him, the maid says she knows nothing, but hands them a bag containing a sample of his vomit along with a book he left behind, then walks away. Sheila panics, realizing Lucas must have become a zombie like her. Terrified, she asks Joel how many people he thinks Lucas might kill and says she's not a monster. She's already killed 3 people herself, and that was bad enough. Sheila and Joel prepare to kill Lucas before he hurts anyone else. They go to the bar mentioned in his book, knowing he plans to be there at 9 p.m. When they spot him, they're shocked. Lucas is singing a heartfelt song. Through the lyrics, they realize he wants to change, redeem himself, and end the criminal inside him so he can live like a normal person. Meanwhile, Abby takes her father's motorcycle to a mechanic named Magnet to fix it. Magnet tells her it will cost $1,200 and asks her to return the next day. Back at the bar, Lucas tells Sheila and Joel he's transformed ever since the night he vomited uncontrollably. He says he became full of energy, discovered a new love for life, and finally decided to sing and chase his passions. Sheila tells him she went through the same thing and that their condition makes them feel alive and energized. The next day, Sheila receives a message from Lucas asking her to meet him. He needs her for something very important. At the same time, Abby returns to Magnet's workshop to pick up the motorcycle. When he doesn't answer, she opens the door and finds him dead from an overdose. Abby asks Eric what they should do. Eric suggests storing Magnet's body in Sheila's freezer so she can eat it later, but instead, they decide to steal the motorcycle and leave. Meanwhile, Lucas shows Sheila a box filled with corpses, offering her whichever one she wants to eat. Then he confesses he wants her to be with him. Sheila tells him she's married, loves her husband deeply, and will never be with him. Lucas insists they're both zombies and need each other, but Sheila insults him and tells him to delete her number and forget she ever existed. As she walks away, Lucas says he'll never forget her and threatens to kill Joel so she can belong to him alone. That night, Lucas breaks into Joel's house and tells Sheila to leave her husband and live with him, insisting they're perfect for each other. Sheila yells at him to get out. When Joel confronts him, Lucas attacks, nearly killing him. Sheila grabs Joel, and they hide in the closet. Lucas finds them, but they manage to stab him in the head with scissors, killing him once and for all. Later, Sheila shows Joel her severed toe. Joel reassures her, saying he'll find the book containing her cure soon, and tells her she's beautiful and her foot still looks fine. Sheila says she's scared that losing her toe is only the beginning. Before she can finish, her eyes suddenly pop out of their sockets. Joel is horrified. The next day, Joel tells Sheila he managed to contact Anton, the man with the Serbian book. When he notices her eyes are still misplaced, he tries to fix them. Sheila tells him he has to push them hard to get them back in place. When he does, it works. Just then, Rick arrives with their daughter Abby. He tells them a traffic officer caught Abby riding an unregistered motorcycle, but decided to let her go. Joel is furious and asks whose motorcycle she was riding. Abby says it belonged to a guy who died of an overdose, and she explains that he stole her money and sold his motorcycle for parts. Joel and Sheila yell at her, demanding she focus on school if she wants to get into college. Later, Joel goes to Eric and asks him to come along to meet Anton. He tells Eric that Anton is a weird guy like him, and they'll probably get along. They go to the school fair and find Anton surrounded by students. Anton talks about what he's discovered about zombies. Joel asks about his Serbian book and requests to see it. Anton refuses, saying he doesn't show his research to strangers, and claims Joel might be a police informant or someone trying to steal his life's work. He curses Joel and walks away. Joel corners him and threatens him, demanding the zombie book, explaining his wife's life depends on it. Anton admits he doesn't have the book and that he isn't a researcher or scientist. He just makes up stories to impress people. people. Joel, frustrated, asks why the government would chase someone so useless. Anton admits he made that part up too. Joel insults him and walks off. Just then, a man steps out of the bathroom. He's been listening the entire time. He tells Joel he also once thought Anton was a real scientist. He asks Joel if his wife vomited a red ball before turning into a zombie. Joel confirms this and asks who he is. The man refuses to say but hands Joel a business card for a virologist. He says that Dr. Cora Wolf is the only person who can help Sheila. When Joel calls Dr. Cora, she tells him she has been expecting his call and asks how long his wife has been infected with the zombie virus. Meanwhile, Sheila asks Joel what he plans to do if Dr. Cora fails to cure her, or if she completely loses control and begins attacking everyone she sees. Joel tells her that he would have to put her down and crush her skull, just like Eric said. Sheila is hurt by his answer. Just then, Dr. Cora arrives to examine Sheila. She tells Sheila she was most likely infected by a mutated version of the rabies virus. She inserts a long needle into Sheila's neck to test whether her spinal cord still feels anything. Once Cora confirms Sheila has completely lost nerve function, she asks Joel to bring her the ancient Serbian book containing the zombie cure. Everyone is shocked that a 600-year-old manuscript might actually cure the undead. Cora explains that Sheila will not return to normal like them, but her condition will stabilize. She won't get worse. Later, Cora tells Joel she will gather the herbs needed for the cure, but needs Joel to obtain bile from the stomach of someone of Serbian ancestry. Joel says he knows Novak's grandmother and will ask her to return so he can collect the bile. He asks if the formula will definitely not worsen Sheila's condition. Cora admits she's not completely sure. Her tests were only on rats, and those rats were freshly infected, not as advanced as Sheila. The next day, Joel and Sheila visit Novak's grandmother, Mrs. Bakovic, bringing her gifts and her favorite Serbian liquor. Joel tries to get her to drink enough to vomit. Suddenly, Principal Novak arrives, asking what they're doing in his house and rudely trying to kick them out. Bakovic scolds her grandson, telling him he should leave and that Joel and Sheila are kind and respectful. Novak storms out angrily. Joel and Sheila try to make Bakovic vomit again. While doing so, Sheila asks Joel if he truly would kill her if she lost control. She suddenly jumps on his shoulder, pretending to attack him. Joel forces her off and tells her that if he said that, it's only because she would become a completely different person, one who could harm him, their daughter, and many others. Sheila finally understands. Joel tells her to leave immediately when he hears the police knocking at the door. He tries one more time to make Bakovic vomit, but the police break in and taser Joel, assuming he's attacking the old woman. Sheila runs home and tells Abby that Novak called the police on them while they were at his grandmother's house. She says Joel might be late coming back and asks Abby to tie her up because she tried to kill Joel earlier. Later, Dr. Cora tells Abby she must leave the house immediately. When Abby asks why, Cora explains they didn't bring the bile and are too late. She also says the police arrested Joel and may search the house at any moment. They cannot see her there. Cora hands Abby the Serbian book and leaves. Abby goes to Eric and asks if he knows anyone Serbian so they can get the bile themselves and prepare the cure on their own. Meanwhile, Sheila, still tied up, calls a client and calmly tells her she won't be available this week, but will be free next week to show her the house she wants to sell. And with that, season 1 of the series comes to an end.